there's a sort of better, I don't want to say the word integration, but better working across the aisle, not simply within the FAA, but also with the EASA, also with ICAO and everything. And you're right, last year, there is the beginning of multi-nations starting to work together towards a more solidified, what do they call them? Shadow agreements, right? Or that's one of the terms that we use. We know that in Japan, JCAB also has shadow agreements with the FAA, EASA has, et cetera, so on and so forth. But we need to see them something that's a little bit more formalized. So tell us a little bit more about that. Is it five nations so far, obviously? Is it going to grow a little bit more? What's happening on a very international view that you see it from your point of view?
Well, that's the thing. It's designed to be these five nations first, but the intent is for it to grow. The issue that came up was just the different rules we use for certification.
Yeah.
The US and Canada use Part 21 for a lot of the stuff. However, in the UK, it's a little bit different. They have EASA rules they follow. And so there was a little disconnect between that. And so when they iron out all those kinks and kind of agree on what standards they're going to, allow and reciprocate with, I think we'll see a lot more. But that is a work in progress. That is definitely, that first document is a living document they're going to be updating. So it's very fascinating. I think somewhere out on my YouTube channel, I have probably an hour-long talk about that document in
Oh,
very great detail. But yeah,
okay.
that was something I did
Well,
last summer.
yeah, we'll link to it if I remember. We'll link to it. We'll put the link here, and so that
Yeah,
people can go
yeah.
and see. But you're right. I think one of the stories that I'll always remember is, you know how EASA had the symbol for the vertipad, the landing by the TLOF, and the FAA had one. And by really working together, they decided to just use the same symbol everywhere. And I think that was one step in the right direction. And of course, ICAO's role is very important here. And I think ICAO's role is going to grow even more and more because to me at least, it seems like that's the international neutral platform. And I know the world of airports are very, very, very complicated, especially on an international level. But you're right. I think it is an embryo. It's starting out well. It's a good foundation, and it will only grow. It'll be also interesting to see what China does and how China continues to evolve, despite the fact that yes, it is an island unto itself. There's still things that we can glean for it. I mean, brilliant to come up with a title of low altitude economy. Whoever thought of that one? I
Yes.
just tip my hat to you.
It makes sense because UTM in the United States is somewhat similar. The eVTOLs are planning to be around 5,000 feet and everything below that for the drones. So it just makes sense that UTM in this country merging with ATM is going to be a challenge, especially with our $12.5 billion revamp of the air traffic control system that was announced last year. That's going to be interesting to see how that works because we need to modernize in the sense that communication needs to be digital because a lot of these
Yes.
autonomous vehicles don't have voice communication like us pilots in the cockpit, talking on the
Yep.
radio. So there's got to be development in that range.